Have you ever noticed how a single compliment can lift your spirits for an entire day, while one careless insult can linger in your mind for years? It doesn't matter how many times we tell ourselves not to care, or how much wisdom we think we've gathered. The truth is, most of us are profoundly vulnerable to what others say about us. Praise and blame, admiration and criticism, they follow us like invisible shadows, shaping how we feel, how we act, even how we see ourselves. It starts when we're children. A kind word from a parent makes us beam with pride. A scolding leaves us devastated. We grow up, but the pattern remains. A coworker compliments your work and suddenly you feel competent, valuable. A stranger criticizes you online, and for hours, maybe days, it gnaws at your peace. Why is that? Why do these fleeting words from others have the power to rule our hearts? Why does our sense of self feel so fragile in the face of external opinion? What are we actually chasing when we crave praise? And what are we truly afraid of when we flee from blame? This isn't a modern problem. Long before the age of social media likes, comment sections, and public opinion polls, the Buddha observed the human obsession with praise and blame. He saw how easily people were swept away by the winds of approval and disapproval. And he taught that these forces, these emotional currents, are part of what keeps us bound to suffering. There's a name for them in the ancient teachings. They're called the 8 worldly winds: gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. They blow through every life, whether you are a king, a monk, or a humble farmer. And unless you learn how to remain steady, they'll toss you about like a leaf in a storm. Think about your own life for a moment. Can you remember a time when someone's kind words made you feel like you could conquer the world? And another moment when a harsh judgment made you question your worth entirely? How easily we rise and fall at the mercy of others' words. But here's the quiet truth. Praise and blame are not about us. They never were. They're about the perceptions, projections, and passing moods of those around us. A compliment says more about the speaker's preferences than about your intrinsic value. A criticism reveals more about their state of mind than your true character. Yet without wisdom, we take both to heart. We let them define us. We grant them power over our peace. The Buddha likened the human mind to a still pond. When praise arrives, it's like a pebble dropped on the surface, sending ripples across the water. When blame comes, it's another pebble, different shape, same ripples. If we remain attached, every word stirs the surface, disturbs our clarity. But when the mind is trained, when it is steady, those pebbles no longer create lasting waves. The pond remains still, reflecting the sky, undisturbed by what falls into it. This ancient wisdom is not about becoming numb or indifferent. It's about seeing clearly. Understanding that the words of others are like passing clouds in a vast, open sky. They appear, they drift, and they vanish. Your task is not to control the clouds, but to recognize the endless sky that holds them. And so, the question is not how to avoid praise or escape blame. Both will find you, no matter how you live. The real question is how to remain stable, how to hold your ground when the winds of approval and disapproval blow through your life. Some might say, well, it's just human nature to care what others think. But what if human nature isn't a fixed sentence, but a habit we can outgrow? What if you could cultivate a mind so steady that no praise could inflate your ego and no blame could shake your peace? Not by rejecting praise or denying blame, but by seeing both for what they truly are, momentary echoes in the vast emptiness of impermanence. This journey is not easy. It asks for awareness. It demands honesty. And it offers, in return, a kind of inner freedom that no one can give or take away. As we move deeper into this exploration, we'll uncover why we're so susceptible to praise and blame, what the Buddha taught about these forces, and how ancient wisdom and modern life intersect in this timeless human struggle. We'll meet ancient monks who face slander with silence, and contemporary voices navigating the storm of public opinion. But more importantly, you'll discover how to steady your own heart. to find a calm center in a world that loves to lift us up and tear us down in the same breath. A place within you that no praise can touch and no blame can wound. And perhaps, just perhaps, you'll see that the peace you've been searching for was never in their words, but in your ability to let them pass like leaves on the water. Why do these simple things, words, fleeting opinions, have the power to bend our hearts, to shape our days, to rule our minds? It seems strange, doesn't it? We are intelligent beings. We build cities, compose symphonies, explore the stars. Yet a careless remark from a stranger or a passing compliment from a friend can lift us into joy or cast us down into despair. What is it inside us that grants such immense power to praise and blame? To answer this, we have to look deeper than surface emotions. We have to trace the roots of this craving, this attachment, to its source. At the heart of it lies a fundamental human need, the desire to be seen, to be valued, to belong. From the moment we take our first breath, we seek the gaze of others. A newborn baby cannot survive alone. We need care. We need connection. And in those early, wordless days, approval means survival. A tender touch, a soothing voice, a loving gaze. These signals told our infant selves, you are safe, you are loved, you matter. And so a habit was born. As we grow, the signals change. Approval comes in words, in gestures, in attention. Disapproval comes in silence, in harsh looks, in rejection. And even though we outgrow our childhood, that ancient hunger remains. Buried in the unconscious, it whispers, be accepted, be liked, be praised, or else. It is this ancient instinct that modern life has weaponized. In the Buddha's time, praise and blame came in small circles, your family, your village, your temple. Today, a single post can summon praise from thousands of strangers, or unleash a flood of criticism from people you'll never meet. And our nervous systems, ancient and unprepared, treat every word as if it were a matter of life and death. A compliment feels like safety. A criticism feels like exile. This is why even the wisest of us can sometimes find our peace shattered by a handful of words. But it's not just biology, it's also identity. You see, from the moment we begin to form a sense of self, we start collecting labels. Good student, bad child, talented, useless, funny, quiet, attractive, awkward. Praise reinforces these labels. Blame threatens them. And so we clutch tightly to the praise, because it props up the fragile structure of who we believe we are. We fear blame, because it feels like an attack on our very existence. The Buddha called this attachment to identity, clinging to self. And he warned that as long as we cling to these ideas of who we think we are, of how we believe we should be seen, we will suffer endlessly at the hands of praise and blame. Think of it like a house built of glass. Every compliment is like a new windowpane added to your shelter, but every criticism feels like a stone hurled at your walls. And so you spend your life frantically gathering more glass, patching holes, defending your fragile home, terrified it will shatter. But what if you realized you were never the house at all? What if, beyond the walls of praise and blame, there was something steady, something untouched, something no words could reach? This is what the ancient masters meant when they spoke of the unborn, uncreated, undying. A mind that sees praise as praise, blame as blame, both rising and falling like waves, without losing itself in either. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. Studies show that people with a strong sense of intrinsic worth, who value themselves independent of others' opinions, suffer far less from criticism and are less addicted to praise. But how do you reach that place? The first step is awareness, to notice in real time how your mind responds. When someone praises you, can you feel the warmth, the rush of pleasure? When blame arrives, can you catch the tightening of your chest, the defensive thoughts? Not to suppress these feelings, not to pretend they don't matter, but to see them clearly. To recognize that this is your ancient wiring, your clinging identity, your conditioned mind reacting. And in that moment of awareness, there's space, a choice. You can follow the old pattern, grasping at praise, recoiling from blame. Or you can rest in that quiet space between the stimulus and the reaction. You can choose to respond from wisdom, not reflex. The Buddha often spoke of this. He said, praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, these 8 worldly conditions forever chase after the world, and the world chases after them. But he also taught that one who sees their nature, one who understands the impermanence of all things, no longer clings to what rises and falls. This is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about becoming free. Free from the need to be endlessly affirmed. Free from the terror of being misunderstood or criticized. Free to be at peace in yourself, regardless of the shifting winds around you. And so, the real power of praise and blame is not in the words themselves, it's in our reaction to them. The ancient sages knew this. Modern science confirms it, and your own heart, if you listen, has always whispered it. As we move forward, we'll explore the teachings the Buddha gave for holding steady in these storms. Not by denying praise and blame, but by meeting them with a wisdom deeper than either. Because in the end, it's not what they say. It's what you see. There's a teaching from the Buddha, ancient, yet as clear and relevant today as it was 2,500 years ago. A teaching about the forces that endlessly chase us, pull us, push us, and leave us spinning in circles if we don't learn to see them. The Buddha called them the 8 worldly winds. Imagine for a moment a traveler on a small boat in the middle of a vast ocean. The wind shifts, sometimes gentle, sometimes fierce, sometimes in your favor, sometimes against you. You can't control the wind, but you can learn how to sail. These 8 winds are the invisible forces that blow through every human life. They are gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disgrace, pleasure and pain. 4 pairs. 4 currents that carry our emotions, decisions, and peace of mind, unless we learn to steady the rudder of our awareness. The Buddha taught that no one escapes these winds. Even kings, monks, poets, and beggars feel their force. They blow through palaces and temples alike. You gain something you desire, you feel joy. You lose what you love, you feel sorrow. You're praised, you glow. You're blamed, you burn. Pleasure lifts you. Pain drags you down. Fame fills your chest with pride. Disgrace crushes you. And here's the trap. If your happiness depends on the favorable winds, your peace is as fleeting as the weather. If you rise with praise, you will fall with blame. If you live for gain, you will grieve in loss. And if you cling to pleasure, pain will devastate you. The wise person, the Buddha said, is one who recognizes these winds not as personal judgments, not as proof of worth or failure, but simply as conditions that come and go. He once told a parable of a man walking through a dense forest. Suddenly, a violent storm erupts. The wind tears at the branches, howls through the leaves, and whips dust into the man's eyes. The fool curses the wind, fights it, stumbles blindly. The wise man steadies his breath, shields his face, and walks on. This is the heart of the teaching, not to deny the winds, not to pretend you don't feel them, but to walk through them with awareness, to understand this too shall pass. The 8 worldly winds are like waves. They rise, they fall. None of them last, and none of them truly define you. The Buddha himself wasn't spared from them. He was praised by kings, then blamed by rivals. He was offered lavish gifts, then threatened with exile. He knew pleasure, pain, gain, loss, but his peace remained unshaken because he understood their nature. They come, they go. Why be disturbed? That's what he taught. And modern minds might ask, but how? How can one remain calm in a storm of praise or a flood of criticism? In the sting of loss or the sweetness of gain? It begins with recognizing their impermanence. In the deepest teachings, the Buddha reminded his followers, whatever has the nature to arise will also pass away. Every word of praise you've ever received, where is it now? Every insult that once pierced you, where did it go? Pleasures, once so sharp you thought you'd never forget them, have faded like dreams. Pains you feared would never end, softened, dissolved. We suffer not because these things come and go, but because we cling to them, hoping to keep the good, dreading the bad. But what if you could let them move through you like wind through an open window? Felt, noticed, but not grasped. This is what the great teachers called equanimity, a steady mind in the middle of gain and loss, fame and disgrace, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Not a cold indifference, not a numb detachment, but a deep, unshakable peace born from understanding. Imagine a mountain. Winds batter it from every side, storms lash its surface, sun scorches its face, but the mountain remains, steady, grounded. The Buddha taught us to be like that mountain, and this isn't some mystical state reserved for saints and sages. It's a skill, a practice, something you can begin right now in your own life. The next time praise lifts you, notice it. Feel the warmth, but remember, this too is a wind. The next time blame strikes, notice the sting. But pause, ask yourself, is this the totality of who I am, or just another passing gust? Each time you do this, you take one step closer to the unshaken mind. The 8 worldly winds won't stop blowing, but you can learn to sail with them, not be carried away by them. And the beauty of this path is that it frees you not only from suffering, but from needing constant approval, from chasing endless gain, from fearing disgrace or pain. It frees you to live, simply, fully, at peace with what comes. In the next stretch of this journey, we'll explore real-life examples of how the Buddha himself responded to praise and blame, and what those moments reveal about the strength of a steady heart. Because wisdom isn't just found in ancient words, but in how we meet the winds of our own days. There's a reason the 8 worldly winds shake us so easily, a reason why a few words of praise can lift us, and a passing insult can cut deep. It's because, underneath it all, we believe in a story called me. Since we were children, we've been told who we are, given a name, a face in the mirror, a set of likes and dislikes. You're the funny one, you're the quiet one, the successful one, the failure, the smart one, the troublemaker. And slowly, without even noticing it, we stitch these labels into a mask we begin to call ourselves. But what if it was never solid? What if the self you protect, promote, and defend wasn't as fixed, as permanent, or as real as you think? The Buddha taught that what we call a self is not a singular, unchanging thing, but a collection. A bundle of experiences, thoughts, sensations, and memories arising and fading, moment by moment. He used a powerful image. Imagine a chariot. When you look at it, you might say, that's a chariot. But if you take away the wheels, is it still a chariot? Remove the axles, the seat, the reins. At what point does it stop being a chariot? It turns out the word chariot is just a label we assign to a collection of parts, temporarily assembled in a certain way. And so it is with you. You are a collection of feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, constantly shifting. There's no single, unchanging I behind it all, only a flow. That's why praise and blame strike so hard, because we think they affirm or attack something solid. But when you see through the illusion of a fixed self, those arrows lose their target. The Buddha didn't teach this to strip life of meaning, but to free us. He knew how much suffering comes from clinging to identity, from believing I am this kind of person, and I must be seen this way or else. We spend our lives defending these fragile self-images. We curate our reputations, guard our egos, seek validation for the story we've built. But look closer. Has your self ever stayed the same? The child you were, the teenager, the adult, the one who loved what you now dislike, who feared what now feels trivial. Where did those selves go? If you're honest, you'll see you are a river, not a stone. And in that insight lies deep freedom, because if there's no fixed self to defend, you don't have to take praise too seriously, nor let blame define you. You can receive both, like rain falling on a vast, still lake. Ripples come, ripples go, but the water remains. The Buddha once described a moment when a bitter critic hurled insults at him. The man expected the Buddha to react, to defend himself, to be wounded. But the Buddha smiled gently and said, "If someone offers you a gift, and you choose not to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man, confused, replied, "To the one who offered it." "Exactly," said the Buddha. "I do not accept your insults. They remain with you." How could he respond this way? Because he didn't cling to an identity that could be attacked. He didn't mistake passing winds for the essence of who he was. And neither must we. This doesn't mean you erase your personality or live without feeling. It means you stop believing that every thought, every emotion, every label defines you. You begin to see yourself as a living, breathing process, a stream of changing experiences, not a fixed thing but an unfolding. And from that space, you can hold life's praise and blame more lightly. You realize, this moment's opinion of me is not eternal truth. You might be praised today, blamed tomorrow, admired this year, forgotten the next. But who you are at your core isn't found in these passing judgments. It's in your awareness of them. The witness behind the mask. The modern world, with its endless labels, likes, comments, and opinions, makes this harder than ever. But it also makes this wisdom more necessary than ever. Because without it, we become trapped in a hall of mirrors, chasing images, reacting to shadows. With it, we become free. Free to meet each experience, each word of praise, each moment of blame with a calm heart and a steady gaze. To live not as a puppet of the winds, but as a sailor who's learned the art of the open sea. In our next passage, we'll explore how to cultivate this unshaken mind in practice, not as theory, but as a daily, grounded way of walking through this beautiful, unpredictable life. Because wisdom isn't just what we know, it's how we live. It's one thing to talk about detachment from praise and blame, but it's another to live it. Throughout history, some souls have done just that, and their stories echo across time as reminders, as mirrors, as quiet invitations for us to rise above the noise. Let me tell you a few. There was a great monk in ancient India named Venerable Pindola Bharadvaja. One day, a wealthy merchant placed a precious sandalwood bowl atop a tall pole in the town square, challenging anyone to retrieve it through supernatural means. Many monks ignored the foolish contest, but Pindola, at his fellow monks' playful urging, levitated into the air and claimed the bowl. The town was in awe. People gathered, showering him with praise. But when word reached the Buddha, he was displeased. Not because Pindola used his abilities, but because it invited shallow admiration. The Buddha summoned him and said gently, "A monk should not display powers for fame or gain. These are distractions from the path. No anger, no scolding, just clarity. And here's the lesson. Even spiritual abilities can become traps if we chase praise. And wise is the one who can release even the sweetness of admiration." Then there's Venerable Mahakasyapa, one of the Buddha's closest disciples. When the Buddha passed away, his followers struggled with grief. Some questioned whether the teachings would survive. Mahakasyapa didn't seek to become the new leader. He didn't gather followers or claim authority. He simply preserved the Dhamma. And when a group of monks started altering the teachings for popularity's sake, Mahakasyapa quietly convened the first Buddhist council. Not to gain fame, but to protect what was true. He reminds us that sometimes the most powerful response to both praise and blame is steady, humble action. But these aren't just ancient stories. Modern life holds its own mirrors. I once met an elderly Zen teacher in a small monastery tucked in the hills of Japan. He was in his late 80s, with eyes like still water and a laugh that could disarm even the proudest heart. Visitors often came, bringing gifts, asking for wisdom, hoping for a moment of enlightenment. One young man, full of himself, asked, "Master, what's the greatest achievement of your life?" The old monk smiled, wiped his hands on a rag and said, "When I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm tired, I sleep." The room fell silent, no cleverness, no grand titles, just pure, unshaken presence. Afterward, as the young man left, another visitor asked the master how he remained so untouched by admiration or criticism. The old monk pointed to a bamboo grove swaying in the wind. "See those stalks? When the wind blows, they bend. When the wind stops, they stand still. But their roots are deep. We spend so much of our lives chasing storms or running from them. But the wise learn to be like bamboo, flexible, rooted." And then there's the story of a woman named Kisa Gautami. She lost her only child, a tragedy so unbearable it shattered her world. Mad with grief, she carried the lifeless body to every door, begging for medicine. Finally, someone sent her to the Buddha. He listened with deep compassion and told her he could help, but only if she brought a mustard seed from a home that had never known death. She searched house to house, and at every door she heard stories of loss. A brother, a mother, a friend, a husband. Slowly her pain softened, not because it vanished, but because she saw she was not alone. When she returned to the Buddha, empty-handed but wiser, he said, "All beings are bound by death. Understanding this is the path to peace." From then on, Kisa Gautami became a devoted disciple, not seeking applause for her courage, not blaming the world for her sorrow, but walking the middle path free of illusions. Even now, these stories are not old. They are alive, in the way you respond when your name is praised in a meeting, in the way your chest tightens when someone questions your worth. Each moment is a practice, an invitation to remember, I am not these words, I am not these judgments, I am awareness itself. The most remarkable people I've known, some monks, some mothers, some strangers on buses, have shared one thing in common. They no longer gamble their peace on the approval of others. They live quietly, deeply, without needing the world to clap for them. And in their calm, they remind us what we too can become. A steady flame in the wind, a lake untouched by ripples, a soul free to love, act, and rest, without being owned by praise or destroyed by blame. As our path continues, we'll explore how to practically train this steady mind, not just in monasteries, but in traffic jams, offices, family dinners, and sleepless nights. Because real freedom isn't found in escaping the world. It's found in moving through it, unshaken. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howling, rain pelting down, the world swirling chaotically around you. But inside there is a calm space, untouched, unmoved. How do you build that space? How do you remain steady amid the highs of praise and the lows of blame? This is not about ignoring the world. It's about changing your relationship with it. First, start with awareness, the simplest, yet most profound step. When someone praises you, pause. Feel the warmth rising in your chest. Notice the urge to bask in it, to let it define you. When criticism hits, feel the sting. Notice the instinct to defend, to shrink, or to lash out. This moment, this tiny space between stimulus and reaction, is your gateway. You don't have to act on impulse. You can choose. The Buddha taught the practice of mindfulness, the art of watching the mind's movements without getting swept away. When you observe praise or blame like clouds passing in the sky, you begin to see they are not you. They are simply events like waves on the ocean of your consciousness. To remain stable, practice this mindful witnessing daily. Try it right now. Recall a recent moment you felt praised, perhaps a compliment, a pat on the back, or public recognition. Notice how your mind reacted. Was there pride, joy, or a subtle fear of losing that approval? Now think of a time you felt blamed, criticized, misunderstood, or rejected. What emotions surfaced? Anger, sadness, shame. See those feelings as guests, not masters. You invite them in, listen, then let them leave. Next, cultivate equanimity, a balanced mind that neither clings nor rejects. This is the middle path. Equanimity is not cold indifference, but a gentle acceptance of things as they are. When praised, you don't inflate your ego. When blamed, you don't collapse into despair. Instead, you stand like a mountain, solid, grounded, unmoved by passing weather. How? The Buddha offered simple, practical teachings to develop this. Reflect on impermanence. Nothing lasts forever, praise and blame alike. Remind yourself, this feeling will pass. This awareness weakens the grip of both praise and blame. Understand no self, anatta. Praise or blame do not belong to a fixed me. They are like reflections in a mirror, appearing and disappearing. Practice loving kindness, metta. When faced with blame, respond with compassion for yourself and others. This dissolves resistance and softens the heart. Embrace humility. Pride thrives on praise. Humility rests in reality. When you see your strengths and weaknesses clearly, praise neither inflates nor blame deflates you. Let me share a practical exercise many Buddhist practitioners use. At the end of each day, spend a few moments in quiet reflection. Recall moments when you felt praised or blamed. Observe your reactions without judgment. Send a silent wish. May I be free from the need for approval. May I be peaceful amid criticism. This daily practice rewires the mind, creating resilience over time. Now think about your own life. Where do you seek validation? In your work, family, social media likes, or friendships? Where do you feel hurt by blame? Are these wounds fresh, or do old pains resurface? Bringing these questions into conscious awareness is the first step toward freedom, because real stability, true inner peace, comes from within. It is not built on external praise, nor torn down by blame. It's a light that shines even in the darkest storms. And remember, this path isn't about perfection. Even the Buddha's closest disciples stumbled. The mind wanders, the heart wavers. But with each moment of mindful choice, you strengthen your roots. Like a tree weathering many seasons, you grow stronger, more flexible, and more deeply anchored. As we move forward, the next chapter will unfold practical tools and meditations to anchor this stability in everyday life. Because the true challenge isn't escaping praise or blame. It's learning to dance with them, steady and unshaken. After walking this path together, exploring the swirling dance of praise and blame, we arrive at a simple yet profound truth. True freedom is not about changing the world around us. It's about transforming how we meet the world within. Throughout life, praise and blame will continue to come and go, like waves rising and falling in the vast ocean. But the true seeker learns to rest deeply in the ocean itself. Vast, calm, and unshakable, this is the ultimate freedom. It is the liberation from the endless craving for approval and from the painful grasp of criticism. It is the awakening to the present moment, fully alive, without needing to cling to others' judgments. The Buddha showed us this path, not as a distant ideal, but as a practical journey accessible to all. By cultivating mindfulness, equanimity, and compassion, we uncover the steady ground beneath the shifting sands of praise and blame. And with this steadiness, life opens to a richer, fuller experience. One where joy is not dependent on applause, and suffering is not magnified by blame. Imagine the relief, the peace, of no longer being a puppet to the applause or the jeers of the world. This is not indifference or numbness, but a vibrant, awake presence. One that sees clearly, feels deeply, and responds wisely. As you close your eyes, take a deep breath. Feel the stillness within, the space untouched by praise or blame. Remember, every time you practice this, you plant a seed that will grow into a tree of freedom, sheltering you through every storm. Your journey doesn't end here. It begins anew with each moment, with every choice to return to mindfulness, with every act of kindness, with every step on the path of wisdom. May you walk this path with courage and compassion. May you find the peace that is your birthright, and may the winds of praise and blame pass over you like gentle breezes, felt acknowledged, but never swaying the core of who you truly are. Thank you for traveling this path with me. May the light of the Dharma guide you always.